Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Yeah, afternoon already. Thank you very much for being here. I'm Naomi Cosme from Save Our Seeds, and I have the pleasure to introduce you today to four great representatives of African civil societies from Tanzania, Burkina Faso, Uganda, and Nigeria. And we'll start with Sabrina Masingila. She's a research and advocacy officer at the African Center for Biodiversity. She holds a BA in environmental studies and focuses her work on research, campaigning, networking, and advocacy around biosafety, seed systems, and agricultural biodiversity. The floor is yours.
Hello, everyone. We stand at the precipice of ecological collapse, but the world is ensuring that we are not only failing to take the necessary action, but we are perhaps even taking steps in the opposite direction. With the failure to meet the Aichi targets that were agreed 12 years ago, we are now facing multiple converging crises and a very concerning biodiversity crisis. The world is waiting for our leaders to take action, yet we see negotiations already watering down the post 2020 GBF from the Aichi targets. This is in an attempt to protect the economies embedded within the same neoliberal economic paradigm, representing danger while also restricting and foreclosing alternative possibilities. With this, we face the risk of adopting a GBF that poses even more dangers to the planet and people, especially the global south and in Africa. What we are witnessing is increasing power of the corporates and inequity in these discussions. With the convergence of the climate crisis and biodiversity crisis, we see the proposals on false solutions to address this crisis, which were not there 12 years ago. This is evident particularly with the extractive conservation embodied in Target 3, the inability to support a just transition in our agricultural sector, driving ecological collapse, among others, which are furthering this crisis and promoting business as usual. In addition, human rights, which are crucial for the implementation of the GBF, has been relegated to BB's section, a section deeply worrying and legally feeble. We continue to demand for human rights embedded in the GBF, the rights of smallholder producers, indigenous people, and local communities to be linked to ensure in situ and on-farm conservation, sustainable use, and maintenance of agricultural biodiversity, with the need to shift towards socially just and sustainable agricultural production such as agroecology. We continue to demand for a transformative GBF, one that will help shift focus from isolated and limited targets to supporting, guiding, and accelerating transitions to fundamentally change the way we provide food, water, shelter, mobility, and other essential social services in an ecologically sound and socially just way now and into the future. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'll present to you the next speaker, Ali Deguama Tapsoba. He's the president of the organization Terravi in Burkina Faso. He's also an environmental and human rights activist and a speaker of an alliance of more than 60 civil society organizations in Burkina Faso. The floor is yours.
Merci.
Thanks a lot. So I would like to say three things. The first one is that genetically modified organism will never be the solution to feed humanity because implementations of GMOs in Africa are going to destroy the agricultural system based on quality of sustainable production, and this is what is developing our economy in Africa. The system is so well organized that if we let GMO in Africa, this is going to destroy the country and it is going to lead to utter poverty. Genetic driving, which is being implemented in Africa at the moment, it's not happened yet, but it's going to happen. It's going to destroy biodiversity, the biodiversity that we have. Burkina Faso has known the failed experience of Mosampo. After using the technology years later, this has destroyed the quality of our cotton and has destroyed the economy, the cotton sector. The second thing we're wishing for is that the principle of food sovereignty, that is the fact that we should leave freedom to each community in the world to produce food depending on the needs, cultural, climate needs, should not be disrupted by hazardous science. This is why we want to say that synthetic biology should be framed with precautionary principles. Otherwise, we're going to destroy African biodiversity if these hazardous science are being implemented. And the last thing we would like to say, we've always said science, yes, but a conscientious science. And when you look at Africa, there is a huge biodiversity, and all the implementation, scientific implementation that is not framed with multidisciplinary principles is going to destroy this biodiversity. And we hope that during this COP, people are going to be aware of what we're saying. When we are speaking of a planet village, if we've got genetically modified mosquitoes, with genetic driving in my country, in Burkina Faso, this is going to have an impact on northern countries because mosquitoes are alive. They travel through different mechanisms. So we are asking for solidarity, a global solidarity, citizen conscience, so that hazardous signs do not destroy humanity. Hazardous signs should not change principles of biodiversity. Thanks a lot for listening.
Merci beaucoup.
A lot.
Is Barbara Nampierveki. She is a lawyer and an activist, and she works for the ETC group. She also works for AfriTAP to assess the implications of new technologies, amongst others, on agriculture and health. Those technologies are supposed to be transferred to Africa, such as synthetic biology. The floor is yours.
The African continent has become an unfortunate destination for new technologies. New genetic engineering techniques, including synthetic biology, are increasingly expanding the scope, applicability, and depth of intervention. Although these technologies are presented as critically important to Africa's socioeconomic transformation, actually they have the potential to disrupt and threaten ecosystems and the communities that depend on them. And therefore, these technological advances raise novel biosafety risks that urgently require updated assessment methodologies and regulations to address significant biosafety knowledge gaps and increasing levels of uncertainty about how these technologies will impact biodiversity and human health. Given the new developments in biotechnology, we need to maintain the precautionary principle and the standard language used over the years about synthetic biology. In order to fully see the world around us, do not blindfold the CBD. Since these technologies impact and are claimed to be done for all parts of society, we must have a multidisciplinary ad hoc expert group, including civil society, the indigenous people, local communities who are stewards of biodiversity, and the youth who will be there into the future. It's not acceptable to just relegate indigenous people and local communities, civil societies, and youth to nice performances and opening ceremonies of the CBD. At the opening ceremony of the CBD on the 7th of December, the UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres struck a warning note saying, "Forget the deluded dreams of billionaires. There is no planet B. There is no planet B." We need horizon scanning, technology assessment, and monitoring fully embedded in the CBD work and the program on, on synthetic biology. We need multidisciplinary expertise, including IPLCs and the youth. We need it to protect our homes and to see what's coming. There is no planet B. Do not blindfold the CBD. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So our last speaker is Marian Bassi. She's a program manager for Friends of the Earth Nigeria and the chair of the Alliance for Food Sovereignty in Africa, which is a network of farmers organizations working in 52 countries. She is also a lawyer as well as an environmental, human, and food rights advocate. The floor is yours.
Thank you. My colleagues and comrades have said almost everything I want to say. I just want to say that it will be deadly with devastating consequence if our government and people who are in charge of authority allow corporate interests over and above public safety. We simply do not believe that these companies, gene technologies, would help our farmers provide food that we need in this 21st century. On the contrary, it's going to devastate our diversity, our local knowledge, and destroy many years of sustainable agricultural practices our small-scale farmers have been involved with over time. And it's going to undermine our capacity to feed ourselves. We employ delegates, governments in this COP at the barest minimum to consider the principles and make decisions based on justice, equity, and human rights. Indigenous people, fisher folks, and our small-scale farmers are the ones who actually provide food for our countries, for our people. And these same people are the first victims of corporate and industrial agriculture and corporate bullying. I'll end by saying this. Let's look at the world as a family, as a house. If you sell your house to buy a flute, where will you stay to blow the flute? Because you don't have a house anymore. So for what reasons are we negotiating? Are we deliberating? Are we having these conversations? We should always think that there are people back at home that we're going to answer to. We're going to give account of our stewardship. We do not really have a planet B. We have only one Earth, and we should consider it. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. I think it's a great panel. So to wrap up, I would say that the partners here on the panel made clear that we're facing an ecological collapse and that the GBF negotiations are not very much going in the right direction we've been looking for, that we need a transformative GBF. They made clear that GMOs and other biotechnologies have the potential to destroy agricultural biodiversity, and that we need right here to apply the precautionary principle and have a multidisciplinary approach to technology and risk assessment. As someone said, we should not blindfold the CBD, therefore we need proper horizon scanning with a participatory approach. We shouldn't put profit over people, and we don't have a planet B. I think that's quite clear. So we should all remember why we're here, and we just have a few days to make it a good GBF so that once we go home, we can tell the people what we achieved here. If there are any questions from the audience, we'd be happy to take them. Okay, I don't see any at the moment. So, is someone shy? No. Okay, good. Then thank you very much for being here. And yeah, let's cross fingers that the GBF will turn into something good. Thank you.
One picture. One picture. This madam, you're not smiling. One more picture. Yeah, official photographer. Give him the point.
Take picture.
One final picture. This time around. Be my bodyguard. One more. One more.
Can you do for me? Like me to just make sure I just like an official, like an official Facebook picture.
Display.
Wait with the mic.
Your name.
With my name.
Sabrina.